Hello there, my name's Lorne Riseley, host of Defunct Games News, and welcome to what I was not informed before I arrived to shoot today, is the renovation of Defunct Games News' studios and headquarters here. So, yeah, something you'd think they'd give me a heads up about before I arrived today. So, nevertheless, the news has arrived all the same, so without further ado, let's just get the hell on with this. Coming up this week. G-Stone announces the brand new SNK Neo Geo MVSX. Rockstar has a rocky week, to say the least. And other highlights to come include a fan-made GoldenEye remake rebrands after legal action. Dave, if you could just take care of some of the wiring in this place, it seems unsafe. Great. Anyway, I suppose we should move on. First this week, we have more news in the ever-growing and ever-exciting world of news concerning mini blasts from the past. Even though we seem to be bringing you news of more and more mini consoles each week, why break with tradition when the tradition is so damn cool? And let's look at yet another mini retro console on the block. And it's a good one. Going on sale in September of 2020 and developed by G-Stone Group in close conjunction with SNK, say hello to the Neo Geo MVSX. And isn't it just the most adorable bit of nostalgia? But before we get into the nitty-gritty of the details concerning the new unit itself, it's time once again to check in with our Why Is This Important correspondent, Cyril Lachelle, who I'm reliably informed has been provided with a studio to record this week, which is, you know, it's just great. I mean, once again, I'm stuck here, managing the fort, doing what I can to keep the...
Hey Lorne, thanks for having me on your show. Man, I'm really loving your studio here, but don't worry, I'm not gonna make too much of a mess. Yeah, you know, nothing I can't hire somebody to clean up if you catch my drift. So I know I'm butting in, but I saw that you were covering the Neo Geo arcade cabinet that's coming out, and I definitely needed to say something. You probably don't know this, Lorne, but I've been a big fan of SNK's system for, geez, I guess like 30 years. Holy crap, I can't believe it's been that long. Look, you have to remember that back then, the arcade was still a big deal. It was the early 1990s, and SNK made this ingenious decision to create these arcade cabinets that housed several games that you could just switch between at any time. So like a single machine could have you choosing between games like Samurai Showdown and Magician Lord and Windjammers and Ninja Combat for radically different experiences. This was not only great for gamers like me and of course the arcades, but also bowling alleys, pizza joints, movie theaters, and pretty much any other place that had a waiting area and limited space. These cabinets were cheap, easy to maintain, and the owners could swap in and out games whenever they wanted to. Now let me tell you, as somebody who loved SNK's arcade games, I always looked forward to seeing what they had shoved into that bright red cabinet. In the early days, it was just a smattering of like run-and-gun shooters and sports games and brawlers. But once Street Fighter II hit, SNK rode the fighting game craze right up until the end of the millennium. You know, that's actually the reason I'm so excited to see all of the games in this collection, because the Neo Geo MVSX appears to have most, if not all, of the must-own hits. I'm talking about the Metal Slugs, the Fatal Furies, the World Heroes, the Last Blades, and yeah, of course, all of those Samurai Showdowns. It's kind of the perfect package for fans of 2D fighting games, because this little cabinet pretty much has everything they could want, including even a few of those side-scrollers and brawlers and sports games that SNK liked so much. Now look, I get it. I know that all of these games are available on other platforms, including the mini plug-and-play Neo Geo console that came out like a year or two ago. Yeah, that's great and all, but for a lot of SNK fans, including myself, so much of the Neo Geo nostalgia comes from just standing in front of the arcade cabinet and choosing between all of those games. I mean, realistically, I'm probably never gonna buy one of those full-size MVS units. So I gotta say, this mini cabinet is definitely tempting. And that is why the Neo Geo MVSX is important. Yeah, at least to me.
I tell you what, another thing about dingoes that pisses me off is... Oh, okay, my bad. Anyway, thank you very much for that, Cyril. Now that we've got the history out of the way, Let's get into the details of this little gem, shall we? A dive into the website reveals that the MVSX home arcade will include 50 titles from various Neo Geo series. The design of the MVSX is based on the nostalgic Neo Geo MVS arcade and features 2 sets of joysticks and buttons, stereo speakers, and a 17-inch display. The size and panel has been designed for 2 players, and it uses the classic MVS joystick and button configuration. There is an AES/MVS mode switch in the settings menu that allows you to play either the arcade or home versions of each game. The MVSX has a 1280 by 1024 LCD screen, and it has a pixel-to-pixel scale to remake the exact original pixel-style game image. Not to mention, it can support a scan line to emulate the old CRT image for full nostalgic effect. The MVSX is a standalone MVS-style base for the MVSX home arcade, which is sold separately. And if I turn to my notes here, the unit comes with a DC power adapter, a user manual, a Terry Bogard figure, and an Iori Yagami figure. Cool. And of the 50 games that are included, some of the games include 10 installments of The King of Fighters from 1994 to 2003, a number of Metal Slug series games, Samurai Showdown 1 to 5 plus the Special Edition, the Fatal Fury series, Sengoku 1 to 3, and many more. All in, you'll be looking at about $499 for the unit, but you can ditch the prop half and just have the gaming portion for $450 and save yourself a couple of bucks. But whichever option you go for, it's fair to say you're getting a hell of a lot of content. Tons of value, what looks to be a solid construction, and the closest approximation of the classic unit we've seen so far. Now, of course, we here at Defunct Games News have developed a bit of a reputation for bringing you news that's rendered inaccurate or completely irrelevant sometime after, even the next week in certain instances. See the Analog Pocket news week before last and then last week, for instance. Again, soz about that. But before you get too worried about whether or not you'll be able to get your hands on this unit if you are interested, the demand is likely to be much lower given the size and price of this unit, and again, considering it's only in September, it's unlikely to sell out between now and then anyway. So, unlike me, if you have the time, money, or space to invest in one of these beauties, maybe you should look into it. I can't, because life is cruel. What do you mean we only have one camera angle this week? So wait a minute, you set up a renovation but didn't bother getting different angles to... What, are we just quitting production value on this thing altogether? Oh, anyway, sorry, just having a spirited debate off camera, which I was reliably informed I'd be counted in on. Thanks, Dave. Anyway, let's move on to the week that was Defunct Games, shall we? And holy hell, as I look through my itinerary here, Cyril's been busier than hell. He has more videos on his channel this week than there are videos on YouTube concerning Dr. Disrespect that have no new information concerning why he was kicked off of Twitch. 1.7 billion videos, if I'm not mistaken. Did you see? He's back on YouTube now, so that's great, isn't it? Someone going back to making tons of money after being fired despite being an independent contractor and no one knows why. Comforting as hell, that, isn't it? But enough of the powerful and wise, unrepentant MD. Let's take a look at the 3 videos that Cyril dropped on your punk asses, yo. I should get that key demographic. Coming up first, you had the latest installment of Game Over, looking at Philosoma. And Cyril comments, while this 25-year-old shooter might not have reinvented the genre, what it did do well was demonstrate how a so-so game can be improved with a few awesome cinemas and an explosive finale. Just remember with Game Over to turn away now if you don't love great content, or if you don't want spoilers, because he goes into spoilers. Coming up next, we had a review of Cruel Band's career, and Cyril says, although punishingly difficult, Cruel Band's career offers a unique take on the tower defense genre. This weird and often baffling game is all about dealing with audience members, no matter how they're friendly, if they're angry, or if they're demonic monsters. The result is an addictive and good-looking mix of Plants vs. Zombies and rock, paper, scissors, complete with crazy power-ups and epic boss fights. It's hard, and the music is an afterthought, but Cruel Band's career is so over the top that he can't help but recommend it. I was in a rock band once. True story. It was called Harm's Way, which it backfired really, because of course, well, no one wants to be in harm's way. And finally, we had a review of Metamorphosis, where Cyril goes on the record to say, this is a short, repetitive, and ultimately unsatisfying journey that is never as deep or compelling as the material it's attempting to mimic. Kafka deserves better than a slightly above average 3D platformer. And there you go, 3 videos in a week from Cyril, not including this one of course. And he goes on to assure me that if you're not 60% more satisfied having just subscribed to the channel and watched the 3 videos, Lorne will personally wax all of your cars. What are you talking about? I'm not waxing anyone's cars. Do you know how much that would cost? Do you have any idea how much time? I'm not waxing cars. I'm not doing it. I'm not. Anyway, let's get back to the news, the important stuff, shall we? Rockstar. They're a good developer. Not immune to criticism, however. In fact, it's been a rather rocky week for Rockstar. I wrote this really funny joke. Do you want to hear it? It's, we're talking rockier than a rocky road dessert topped with Rocky bars being eaten by Led Zeppelin while watching Rocky Balboa vs. Apollo Creed because of all the rocks in the sentence. I know, that's why they pay me the bare no money. I mean, the week started innocently enough. DLC for Grand Theft Auto 5, albeit has been expected for some time, and a patch for Red Dead Redemption 2. What could possibly go wrong? So let's start off small, shall we? Small as in years of anticipation for all the payoff of a wet fart. The Galaxy Super Yacht was going to get its own set of missions per the Los Santos Summer Special Update, and fans were expecting a lot given the exorbitant fee of $6 million it cost to buy the seafaring money-fueled penis substitute. Like all business ventures, players were expecting a return on their investment, both in terms of excitement, drama, and most of all, cold, hard cash, baby. And so it came as a bit of a shock to fans who were treated with missions that could be best described as mediocre, and a payoff that has prompted Peter Molyneux to sue for gimmick infringement. You will unlock a captain costume as a bonus for beating all 6 objectives, and the missions will temporarily earn you double RP and GTA dollars. But typically, the new missions will pay out between $14,000 to $25,000 upon completion, meaning that you'll have to complete 240 missions at 25 Gs a pop to make back the money it took to get the damn thing in the first place. Plus, many complained about the lack of imaginative or indeed satisfying missions on offer. So you might think that giving gamers such a meager return on both their financial investment as well as all that anticipation built up over years was as bad as it could get for Rockstar this week. But que nada, amigos, because now we move on to GTA 5's younger brother, Red Dead Redemption 2, and a patch that makes Bethesda giddy at how it now has a glitch friend.
Oh, friend! Oh, friend!
The 1.21 update is the likely culprit, with users reporting all manner of annoying, hilarious, and indeed game-breaking bugs and glitches, ranging from things as innocuous as low animal spawn counts or difficulty pitching camps and the such. But more amusingly, and more popular fault reported to the dedicated support page Rockstar had set up in response to the issues, is simply listed as other. Why is that so vague, you might ask? Well, I doubt Rockstar ever anticipated that flying horses was a fault that so many people would report and that they would have to attend to. Yep, we had it all, folks. We had horses unable to move due to shortening of their legs, some even levitating, NPC characters doing the horizontal shuffle as they seemingly forgot how to do it vertically, a mysterious bald man honouring the proud legacy of Forrest Gump but simply running forever wherever he was going, completely deserted towns, save for some turkeys, and perhaps my 2 favourite ones. It's raining alligators in the bayou. That's hilarious. I mean, terrifying, but hilarious. And then, of course, this is amazing. The rocket horse. Just watch it go. Initially, Rockstar commented, "We're currently developing fixes to address these issues and will share more information as it's available." And later, once some time had passed and the stallions had settled, they announced that they'd rolled back the aforementioned broken update which was attributed to the problems, stating it had reverted back to the previous version of the game on the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One, which originally launched on the 28th of July. This should address the recent issues and restore stability, Rockstar wrote. Meanwhile, we will continue to work to eliminate the remaining issues through future updates. There's not really much more to say on this one. Rockstar have cultivated a rightful reputation of producing good games that they support continuously after release, such as Grand Theft Auto 5 and Red Dead Redemption 2. However, I mean, there is one thing that can be said. I mean, look, it's a horse flying. How stupid is that? It's great. Honestly, the kind of thing that cheers me up right until the moment I realise I'm standing knee-deep in plasterboard. hell out of here pretty quickly, yes? You want me to stay and clean up? Why would I clean? Yeah. Anyway, much like the moisture that's seeping through this place, there are some stories that may have slipped through the cracks with you this week, and that's why this last section is here, to mop up the residue, as it were, and what sounds like is going to be my evening plan today. So let's take a look back at some of the smaller stories of the week that maybe you missed. From Rockstar being unsteady to rock steady now. Rocksteady appeared to have announced a new game this week. The full details of the game, such as the name, content and synopsis, are due to be announced on the 22nd of August at the 24-hour virtual experience, the DC Fandome event. However, further to a story we brought you several episodes ago when it was revealed that Rocksteady had trademarked Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League. Rocksteady have confirmed the game's development with the release of an image of the Man of Steel, Superman, for those of you living under a Marvel rock, and an ominous crosshair logo locked firmly on his impervious dome, with some speculating that the game will have much more of an Arkham Origins feel and style as opposed to the Batman animated series inspired installments of the Arkham games. Seriously, you're f***ing up my take. Get out of here. It's out. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Imagine the thought that went through their heads when they were given that news. Great news, guys. Thanks a lot for spending all of the last maybe 15 years or so working on Batman games. You must be tired. You must want to work on something else. Well, good news. We've got a new project for you. Instead of focusing on Batman, we want to focus on everybody else in his universe for the next 3 years or so. How does that sound? Fun? No? We'll get on with it anyway. I mean, it's funny to me. And proof that we do sometimes bring you news that develops rather than becomes completely irrelevant. Unlike the next story.
A few moments later.
Remember last week how I spent 5 minutes telling you how the new Halo game, Infinite I think it's called, is going to be coming out in the holidays? Yeah, we'll forget about that. Yep, the developer 343 Industries, having spent the whole week defending the game, has now taken the decision to delay the game until 2021 to address a number of the game's issues and attempt to bring the game up to the standard they feel is required. Chris Lee, studio head of 343, stated, "The decision to shift our release is the result of multiple factors that have contributed to development challenges, including the ongoing COVID-related impacts affecting us all this year. I want to acknowledge the hard work from our team at 343 Industries, who have remained committed to making a great game and finding solutions to development challenges. However, it is not sustainable for the well-being of our team or the overall success of the game to ship it this holiday." I'm pitching a new slogan to the Defunct Games bosses. Defunct Games News, bringing you news that's irrelevant next week. I think it has a ring to it. But moving on, we have the heartwarming tale of copyright infringement, legal action, and being completely dismissive of that legal action. The creators of GoldenEye 25, a game that sought to bring the classic Nintendo 64 FPS to the modern era, have been told in no uncertain terms that they may not create a game called GoldenEye. So they simply rebranded as Project Ianus and cracked on regardless, making a few design tweaks and alterations to skirt as many copyright infringements as possible, but without losing all the original goodness they planned to lift from the original title. The team's statement reads that the IP holder, MGM/Gangjang, have issued the request and that it would be compliant. Legal action was always in the back of our heads as a possibility, but we've tried our best to keep going. But we cannot do a Bond game. We can still do a great game with all the beloved aspects of our favourite 90s action shooter. Still on track for release in 2022 to coincide with the 25th anniversary of GoldenEye, it'll be interesting to see if this new need for originality will take the game in a new direction. And when you consider that GoldenEye, the original game, was developed by a guy in his spare time, it seems a little harsh to issue legal proceedings against a team simply seeking to emulate those humble beginnings. But then again, if I saw someone launching a news channel called Defunct Gaming News, for instance, I'd be all over that legal lawsuit like Shroud on a new Twitch contract. Speaking of which, Michael Shroud Grizchek has signed a new deal with Twitch after the catastrophic failure that was in no way his or indeed anyone else's fault of the streaming site Mixer. More people watching Twitch than ever, 56% more in terms of hours watched as a matter of fact, and with the exit of The Good Doctor, Twitch will be eager to see Shroud back on its platform, given its need for more content, but still no less out of pocket, having signed an exclusive deal with a streamer who recently pocketed $10 million for helping tank its rival service. And that means But this is the best news of the week, people. This is wonderful. With Dr. Disrespect being back on YouTube, Ninja and Shroud being back on Twitch on exclusive deals, very lucrative ones at that, it means that thy holy trinity, thy gaming brethren, are finally back making fistfuls of cash, doing precisely nothing, having tanked their main competitor. Well, two of them, not Dr. Disrespect. We don't know why he was told to leave, and that's good that we don't know. That's why you should still support and watch him, you know, doing something so heinous to get fired without anyone wanting to speak as to why. I'm sure there's no legitimate reason why anyone should be worried or anything. Overkill? Okay, but enough to get out of the lawsuit, yes?
That, sir, is an investigated fabrication.
Anyway, that's been the happenings of the week. My name's been Lorne Riseley. This has been Defunct Games News. I'm getting the hell out of here now because I'm not entirely certain that this building is structurally sound, so I'm going to flee for my life for fear of a support beam falling on my noggin. In the meantime though, I would invite you to check out the Defunct Games channel with all the wonderful content that we've brought you this week, and indeed all the content to come. Also go and check out the Discord if you have 5 minutes to yourself. I can't help but think this is a punishment for me going AWOL a few weeks back. I will still get to the truth, I promise you. In the meantime though, thank you very much for watching, as always. Take care of yourselves. And I'll see you soon, I hope.
Hey, thanks for watching this episode of Defunct Games News. Look, I know that I remind you that Lorne will be back almost every week to recap the news, but I'm still trying to figure out what a shroud is. I think I'm gonna need to watch that episode again. Anyway, here's the question I have for you. What is your favorite Neo Geo game? Oh boy, this is a simple one. For me, it's Samurai Showdown 2. Actually, no, on second thought, I think it might be Last Blade 2. No, I think I was right the first time. Definitely Samurai Showdown 2. Or is it Waku Waku 7? Oh, okay, maybe this isn't an easy question. Let me see your picks in the comments below. In other news, we'll be back tomorrow with a Neo Geo infused episode of Game Over, followed later in the week with a review of Rogue Legacy 2. If that sounds good to you, then I strongly recommend you click that subscribe button and support what we're doing here. Until then.